Alex, we've worked with thousands of people in the commercial environment, and one of the things that we know is that preparation is one of the keys to a successful sale. But yet there's often a reticence to actually put time in the diary to prepare. So I'm just curious, what's your insight on that?
I absolutely agree with you on the experience, Gareth. It's one of my fascinations, but also frustrations, I guess. As I said, clearly there's a lot of people who do this really well as well. But when I reflect on it, the proportion of people who do a good job of this is relatively small. And one of my insights is, if you think about people who are attracted to our profession, very often one of the attractions is the kick that you get out of the customer engagement and the thrill of the chase, and then the success of the partnership that you create when you do a good job. And preparing is in some ways the antithesis of that. It's relatively structured, it's relatively detailed, it's maybe a little dry as well, because it's going to involve some analytics, which doesn't appeal to some people. And I think people are less motivated to want to do that just because of the the energy that's around it.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. So what do you think? How does it show up to the customer if you aren't prepared?
Well, if I was to be provocative about it, it kind of shows the customer that you don't care enough about the relationship, doesn't it? And whilst salespeople, or often people in those roles, pride themselves on their ability to think in the moment, or as some people might refer to it as winging it. When it gets serious, in business to business relationship, where there's often hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever your currency is involved with the conversations that you're having, it's pretty serious. We need to be taking this really seriously, and winging it is not an option.
Mm. So it sounds like if you're not prepared, you're preparing to fail. I mean, that's an old adage, and I think it's true here. But it also sounds that the customer can pick that up, and therefore that winging it's likely to show that you don't really care that much about the customer. And I'm just wondering how many deals are lost because of that.
Yeah, but I think many. And here's the irony of it: one of the excuses that is given for not preparing is that people don't have time, and it's probably the very first one that comes out of most people's mouths. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the irony: if you don't take time to prepare, you're much more likely to fail. Of course, you are. Therefore, you have to do it again. So you'll have a second meeting with everything that's involved. Now, we don't travel now, currently in this virtual world that we live in, or we travel much less anyway. The irony of that means that we should have much more time on our hands to prepare. Now, I know we tend to find ourselves in back-to-back meetings, even more so now we're virtual, but nonetheless, you should have more time to prepare, because you're not losing hours of your time traveling to and from meetings anymore. But the overall thing is, if you don't prepare, you're more likely to, or you don't prepare effectively, you're more likely to fail. That will ultimately take you more time. And that's the paradox that we're facing.
So it's interesting. So in summary, there's a big excuse about I don't have time to prepare, but therefore you're more likely to not succeed in a customer meeting. And of course, you're therefore more likely to have to do it more than once. So there's something there about putting that time in.
Yeah, and absolutely. And remember, those who are good at their job do this. So there's no mystery in the reasons why people are successful.